Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to make this beautiful draped wrap top. So the picture is my inspiration and the video is the one I recreated, which I am currently putting on. If that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, then keep watching this video till the very end and let's head straight to the tutorial. First, you'll be needing your basic bodice front, okay? And I have mine in full. You also want to get yours in full like this. For the sake of this tutorial, you need it in full. Now the dart that you're seeing has been eliminated. That is why I did not put it on the other side of the pattern, but the side bust dart is very much available, which I actually think we don't need it, but we haven't come to that for now. I'm going to be folding my paper into two, and I'm reducing my shoulder by 1/2 inch. I also came down and reduced the depth of my neckline by, let's say, 1.5 inches from the 3 inches already I deducted. So going in with my ruler, I tried to use my ruler to join them, but there was a space. If you like, you can decide not to remove your neckline at all before doing this. So because of the space, I had to extend the depth of the shoulder that I removed so I can be able to cut it out. So I haven't done that. I had to cut it out and this is what it looks like. I went ahead to open up the pattern again so we can work on it. Now we're going to be imputing the style line for the wrap. I think the wrap went something this way. Please consider the picture on top of the screen. Okay, so I think the wrap went into this part of the dress or this part of the dress, right? So that is what I'm trying to do now, and I arrived at this particular one, which I'm going to be using. Now, we are having a cutout, so you need to contour so that when you wrap this dress on you, it does not gap like my own that you saw at the beginning of this video. Okay, so I had to contour it. The contour that we're using is the shoulder contour that I've gone ahead to impute the line, and of course we're marking our bust arc on it, and then on top of the bust arc we're going to be taking 1/2 inch, which is our dart, and then we'll go ahead to connect our darts like so to form the dart for the shoulder contour that we'll be needing for this dress, so that wrap part of it does not gap on you when you put it on. So having done this, this is what it looks like. We're going to be attaching, this is a kimono, the sleeves are not different, it's a kimono. So I'm going to be attaching my what is it called, my kimono sleeve. So I attached a fresh pattern paper to this point, and from the point of my shoulder I went ahead to check or measure the length of my kimono sleeve. I used 8 inches. You can use 9 or 10, it's okay, but I used 8 inches. I went ahead to connect it from the shoulder to that 8 inches point, and the width of my sleeve, of course, should be your upper round arm. Mine is 11 inches. You want to add a little bit of allowance, let's say 1 inch or 1.5 inches of allowance. Okay, so I added my allowance and I had to join it because it's a kimono. I'm joining it from this part like so. Please, I actually did not know that I wasn't filming this properly, but you guys will see it as we go on in this tutorial. And after doing that, I went ahead to start cutting it out. Like cut out the part that we do not need, the excess paper around it that we do not need. Can you see that? This is what the sleeve looks like. So we'll also go ahead to cut the wrap effect or the wrap part of it out. Do not forget your contour that is still there. Can you see it at this lower part of it? So we'll discard the upper part of it. We do not need it. That's the contour that I was talking to you about earlier. So the next thing we are going to do is to create that built-up neckline effect. Consider the picture on top of the screen once again. We're going to be marking 1 inch upwards after I added my fresh pattern paper. You want to kind of drew it to that V neckline. And then from this point, you're going to be kind of sliding it into your shoulder and your sleeve. From that point of the neckline, you're going to be sliding it off. From that point of the 1 inch, you're going to be sliding it into your neckline and of course your sleeve area. And at that point, this is what we have. This is what your pattern should look like. So I went ahead to start drawing in the style lines for the drapes. Also consider the picture on top of the screen. I think it went in something like this to the waist. I had like 3 lines. You can decide to do more, but I had 3, which is okay for me. Then I went ahead to start cutting it out. And at this point, I think it's time we close up that contour dart. You have to close it up. So did you see what I did? I had to cut up to that point. Then I had to close up the contour dart. And having closed up the contour dart, I continued cutting. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know when I post lovely tutorials like this. Do not forget to like this video and share it with other sewing platforms where you know it will be needed. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. So we're going to be cutting this out, and of course the third one will be cutting it out. Now if you're going to get confused, you want to label ABC 1 2 3 so you know which comes, you know, when you're cutting on your paper. I'm supposed to use a fresh pattern paper to, you know, kind of align these things. If you're watching my previous videos, I do that, but because I don't have any different color paper, I didn't do it. Now I flipped this around, and from the neckline, or from the shoulder, sorry, I want more fullness at the shoulder but not at the waist. So I had to cut this like so. Then flipping it around, you understand what I'm talking about. Now we can have more fullness. I'll have more pleats at my shoulder but not at the waist. I hope you get it. Do not worry. As we go on, you understand. From my waistline, I came down by 3 inches. And then I added fresh pattern paper because the pattern will not be enough. I want to get that pointy effect. I added fresh pattern paper, and from my waistline also I marked 9 inches downwards. I'm going to be connecting this 9 inches point to that, sorry, the 3 inches to that 1 inch, to the 9 inch point, sorry. I'm going to be connecting the 3 inches to the 9 inch point. Also on this side of the waist, I marked 3 inches and I'll connect it to the 9 inches point. I had to extend it because I felt the pointy effect was not going to be pronounced, but you can leave yours at that 9 inches. I had to extend it, and this is what this pattern looks like. Now you want to know that this is just, okay, for the side bust dart, I had to cut it open, but I think this is not necessary. Since it's a kimono, that part is kind of free. It's not fitted, right? So you can just ignore it. Don't bother cutting it out. I had to place it on my fabric. Can you see the way I placed it on the fabric? As I'm cutting, I'm taking note of every corner. Whatever way it slides, I'm taking note of it. I'm not just cutting it straight. You have to take note of everything. Can you see? You want to take note of everything. The way the corners are, every point, every edges. You want to take note of it. Because it's also going to affect the fit of your garment if you do not cut it properly. So I'm going to have to cut out the pattern on the fabric like so. And after cutting, I had to use my pen or your chalk, whatever it is, to start marking. Like you have to mark, this is where you're folding, this is where you're leaving out, this is where you're folding, because you're not gathering it. It's not gathered, it's pleats. So you have to be sure that you're folding where it's supposed to be folded and you're leaving out where it's supposed to be left out. So after that, we come back to the pattern. Now we just cut the part of the lap that is on top. Remember, there is an overlap which is inside. There are 2 pieces for the front. We just cut out the part which is the outer one. Now the inner overlap is what we are cutting on. It's only the outer one that has a pointy effect. The inner one does not have a pointy effect. So from that 3 inches mark, we are going to be cutting out the other part because we do not need it for the inner part, which means the length of this top is like 3 inches from the waistline. I decided to add more pleats to the sleeve of that inner part. Please consider the picture on top of the screen. I decided to add more pleats to the sleeve of that side. Let's call it left or right, whichever way. Just the inner part of it, the inner part of the wrap top. So I placed it on the fabric now. Can you see? I also added the other parts of it. I don't know if you get. I also added those other parts of it. These other parts now, okay, exactly the way it was in the former one, like the other wrap that is outwards. So I had to cut it out on my paper and also marked the parts where needed to be folded and stuff like that. I set it out. Now heading over to the back, which is actually very simple. Like I said, the length of this top is 3 inches from the waistline. So we're marking 3 inches from the waistline, which is going to be the length of the back of our top also, because that is actually the length of this top, apart from the extension of the pointy part, which is just an additional design that gave it an additional length. So we're cutting that part out. I wanted to cut my dart open and sew it, but this fabric is very fragile. Like it's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't need so much sewing on it. I decided to eliminate the dart. So to eliminate that, on your waistline, you're marking 1 inch. You want to take the measurement of the dart here and place it there and also mark it. Then with my ruler, you're going to be connecting from your bust point line or your chest line for the back to that waistline, the 1 inch waistline, and also to the point of the dart at the hem part of it. So having done that now, I'll go ahead with my scissors and cut it out. Now on your shoulder, for the built up neckline for the back, you're marking 1 inch and the depth also 1 inch. You go ahead to connect it. And with your scissors, you're going to be cutting from the center back up onto the shoulder. Do not cut it out. Cut to and not through. So I'll be adding a fresh pattern paper to spread it out like so. Now, make sure that from the center front, you have to take it 1 inch. The distance between these 2 points should be 1 inch. The distance between these 2 points should be 1 inch. Then you use your tape to hold it down. You cut out the excess. But firstly, you want to use your pen and through everything, like mark it out. As you can see me do now. Then with your scissors, you go ahead and cut it out. Of course, this part is the center back, so it has to be straight. Okay. And this is what your pattern for the back should look like. Now the kimono sleeve, will be adding it onto the sleeve. It's just the same procedure for the front. So add your kimono sleeve to the fabric. If you have enough paper, you can add it to the paper before cutting out on the fabric. But mine, I added it directly to the fabric. It's the same procedure with the front. I went ahead to cut it out. Now we're heading over to the sewing. At this point, I was kind of getting confused. I don't know where is which, but of course I have to figure it out, right? So I've gone ahead to form the pleats or the pleats, yeah. I've gone ahead to sew up the pleats for both sides. At this point, I'm trying to place them together where it's supposed to be, or which part is supposed to be resting on which part. I'm going to have to fold them together, and with my pin, I'm holding it before I take it to the sewing machine to sew it up. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to take it to my sewing machine to sew it up. Now for the back part, I added a zipper to my back. And then I'm going to be placing the front, which I already sewed up, to the back, right side facing right side. Firstly, we're going to be sewing it starting from the shoulder, all right? And then the sides. The shoulder and then the sides, all right? And after sewing it together, you guys, this is what we have at the end. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.